So, as you know, branding is important for your business. But there are so many levels to branding. There's design, there's websites, there's colors, there's marketing research, and there's also relationships.
Relationships? Wow, I love that.
And we have the master of relationships here with us today, Peter Pasternack of Foundations Design and also Investors Blueprint, correct?
That is correct.
And today, he is the master of relationships, and he is a wonderful person to be in a relationship with, and who other to ask questions about how to be better at it, what works, than my dear friend, Peter Pasternack. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Shauna, for inviting me. It is just a pleasure to be here today.
I am excited. You are one of my favorite people, and you know that.
Can you say that again? I just want to make sure everybody heard that.
One of my favorite people.
Love her.
And also has taught me a lot. It's not always easy, but you have to learn.
Hey, listen, did anybody say life was easy?
No.
So
not.
if it's worthwhile, then you have to go for it.
You have to go for it. And today you guys are going to be learning about relationships. And so, Peter, before we get into that, I want them to know a little bit about you, how you come to this place in real estate, because that's not how it started. But now it's gone from several levels, and now you have Investors Blueprint. Can you just take us down that journey and how we got here
The
today?
picture, the journey. Okay. All right, so a little bit about myself. I'm a graduate of the University of Georgia. I have an undergrad and a master's degree in accounting. I am a CPA that started my work career at Price Waterhouse. Now, last week I turned 58 years old. This is when you say you don't look a day over 35.
You don't.
I love an honest woman. Okay, so can you imagine me 35 years ago when I had 4 times this amount of energy in a low cubby at Price Waterhouse?
No, I can't.
Not
I
great.
Can't imagine.
So did that for a couple years, but it did teach me a lot about business. And for the next 20 years, I was in the banking world. So started as a bank auditor, then I went to the operations side, then I was a lender, and then actually at the end, I was a bank president for a subsidiary. So kind of like Shark Tank on steroids. Got to finance over 500 companies and see how people made money and lost money. 2004, got in touch with my entrepreneurial side. Of course, my dad owned a Dunkin' Donuts and a restaurant, so I grew up in a very entrepreneurial household. And so I bought a client's commercial printing company, 300 employees, and within a year bought 6 other companies. So I owned 7 companies I was running, working 7 days a week, 100 hours.
And what time do you wake up every day?
Well, 4 a.m. Anybody who knows me, if they don't know me well,
I know this.
4 a.m. Between 4 and 7, I run my businesses, so I have the rest of the day to work on my relationship. So back in 2005, Brian Troe was my personal trainer. And as you know, he's about 14 years younger. We became very close friends, and we were sitting down here. And I said to him one day, because I've lived in this place over 20 years, I said, Brian, what do you want to do when you grow up? He said, real estate. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to work 3 or 4 hours a week, because understand, I own 7 companies at this time, right?
Yeah. Let's just say that 7 companies. I think people never get that when you say that. I've heard it, but I'm just like, how?
7.
Yeah. Okay.
But all of them needed printing. So I actually did vertical integration, and all that business went up to the main company. So, but 7 different corporations, books, all the different things I had to keep. So Brian said he wanted us to do real estate. We started, and within a year, and people do not believe this, within a year of us starting, we end up on national television. And of course, for 3 seasons, I was a lead character on A&E Split This House.
Yes.
So I have not been in real estate my whole life. Some people think I have.
Right.
But it's been the last 13 years. Brian and I are builders, licensed contractors. We're still investors. And, in 2010, we just started Real Estate Connection. Have the first Thursday of every month.
Yes, coming up next Thursday.
So you might ask me, Peter, why did you start Real Estate Connections? Let's see if you ask that.
Yes, Peter, why did you start Real Estate Connections?
I love that question. Isn't it just awesome? Okay, so...
And I met him before that started, actually. We met in a room. It was just him and I asked him, what do you want to do when you grow up? And he said, I want to have the #1 networking event in Atlanta and positively affect people.
Right. So, and that was about 8 months before we started. So, I've never met a stranger, as you know, and I go to a lot of networking events, but the thing that I found is there were so many different types of people that it really wasn't very centered, and it was hard to find people you could really have relationships with and do business with. So my vision was to have a networking event that revolved around real estate. So everybody there touches a home or provides services or wants to connect with people in the real estate industry. So that started basically 8 years ago. We have not missed a month in 8 years, and has grown from first event I had 93 people, and this last year we averaged over 300 people every single month. So people are getting business, but I think the part that's been successful is people understand the value and the time commitment it takes in relationships, right? You can't go once and think all of a sudden you're gonna like get business there.
Yeah, and I get that a lot. People are like, well, I went, and this happened. I'm like, there goes back to understanding relationships.
So can we talk about like the number one mistake most people make at networking events?
Yes.
So if you go to a networking event and you try to sell something, it's not going to work. And so my goal when I go to any networking event is to meet 3 to 5 people, and I'm gonna have a little conversation, but I'm very clear that my goal is to set up a one-on-one meeting afterwards. So it would look something like this. Shauna, can you believe how busy and noisy it is right here at Real Estate Connections? I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna call you tomorrow. Side note, if I say I'm gonna call you tomorrow, what am I gonna call you?
Tomorrow.
And if you don't mean it, don't say it. Right? Exactly. This is the first impression people are gonna have of you.
Yes.
So I'm gonna call you tomorrow.
All about back to integrity.
Yep. I'm gonna call you tomorrow to see if we can schedule a cup of coffee to see how we can help one another. Right? She's heard.
Have I been to this class, do you think? Okay.
And the reason that's so important is most people, if they don't like answer an email, a phone call, it's because they don't think there's anything in it for them. And so it's important that they understand this is something that's in it for them. I'm big on relationships because I understand people do business with people they like and trust. And so the ability to help others, which is really what my motto is, which my personal mission statement is every day, I will personally affect as many people as possible. And so I understand that when you focus on others instead of yourself, then that's what builds trust, that builds a relationship. And as a byproduct, when you help others, you know what happens.
It comes back.
It helps.
And here's this one of the hiccups I find, and we've talked about this several times, about people who give, but they give with this like side thing to hope that something comes back, or now you owe me a favor.
Right.
And people, they feel that.
They feel that, and here's the problem with that. If you really have ulterior motives, you have to say those all out, because if I refer something to you and my ulterior motive is I either want a referral fee or I want like 5 other referrals from you, I don't say it, then this relationship is not like a two-way street.
Right.
And so
you're assuming the other person knows.
Yes, and you can't expect people can read your mind. So the importance of giving without any expectations of receiving is really giving. And so for me, when I can help others and positively affect, that's what motivates me to be out there. And I have found there's nothing more satisfying in life than helping other people in their career or achieve their goals and dreams.
Well, since I've known you, and of course, you're a very important person in my life and have taught me a lot. But when it's about who you hang around, you become who you hang around. And that connecting, I already had that, but because of knowing you, it's just gotten stronger. And I just do it just because it's habit. But what's happening, just like you said, is people just come back and give me business. Or I come to Real Estate Connections and I'm a fave, but because I gave to everybody. It's not because I'm this like, oh, people are like, oh my God, you gotta know Shauna. Oh, this and that. And I'm like, because I gave without looking for anything, and it just worked for me.
I think it's a magnet. I think it attracts people, right? And the other thing you said that I want to just follow up on is, I always say you have to surround yourself with positive, like-minded people. There are too many people that are in drama and all this other craziness. And I say those people, they need to move to the sidelines, right? I want to be around other people that want to have relationships with people that keep it positive, because at the end of the day, you know what? Don't you want to feel good? And when you live in gratitude and positivity, then it just feels so much better.
And people remember that.
Yes.
Someone I was working with, we no longer work together, but one of the things she said was like, Shauna, I really love how positive you are. And you really don't realize it until you affect other people.
Right. Some people say I have a lot of energy. I don't think it's just me. I'm not even sure where that energy comes from.
I don't know. I don't know if it's real or not. But so my question, the other question is, you said something about, and even though we're talking about relationships, surrounding yourself with the right people. When it's time time to move away. And we've talked about this before, and it's called moves them to the sidelines.
Yes, they don't get to play on the playing field.
Right.
Yes.
But to be more precise, what is a way a person can decide when they're ready to say, all right, I'm ready to grow. I want to move some people to the sidelines, or looking for a new group to surround yourself with. And some people just don't know, so they don't do anything, they get stuck. What are some ways that they can start transitioning from old groups to new groups? Do they stop answering their phone? Do they what are some things you've done when you have to move people to the sidelines? What does that mean? And for those on the sidelines, sorry, okay?
All right, so first of all, I love that question, but let's start with the first is my truth, not the truth. We could both have a different opinion of what color the sky is today, but
Right.
my truth, nobody gets to define that but me. So if I don't like something, see, where people get in trouble is they let things go over time. They don't address it and say something, and then it's the old adage of we're going to fight over you didn't put your cap on the toothpaste, when in truth of the matter, we didn't nip it in the bud, something that bothered me. So I think it's important to live your life by telling your truth and honesty. If you do, you don't get so into the problem of I'm gonna need to get rid of you and I need a whole
Right.
bunch of people. So, but let's say that you've lived your life and you didn't know the number one Peter principle is all you owe somebody is your truth. So during that time, I don't think you have to just do something wild and crazy. But if you're not enjoying spending time with somebody, or they actually do something, there's nothing wrong in saying, look, you know what? That energy's not working for me. And so I'm telling you this, I'm surrounding myself with people who are loving and supportive and who are interested in me. Because what you find with a lot of people who are negative, they're all into themselves.
Yes.
And they don't
Yeah.
help others. So you can just say, I'm focusing on people who are interested and want to help and positively affect others. And they're going to get the message. And slowly but surely, you make sure you you're around people who have that philosophy.
No, I think that it's huge surrounding yourself with people. And again, like all these conversations we're having right now, we've had hundreds of times.
Hundreds of times.
Hundreds of times. And some of those mistakes I've made hundreds of times.
All right, showing number 873rd
Yes.
time. This is going to be the lucky number today. Okay.
But I mean, it means a lot to have you, and this is very easy for me to do this with you because it's exactly who you are. The same things you said 7 years ago, you still say today with the same passion, the same solidness. And I feel like a lot of people aren't whole. So when you're not whole, of course you do all these things. And that's one thing that is rare about you. You're actually a whole person. That you are just happy, you love on people, you're open to loving people. And that brings me to something that I didn't plan on thinking, but because I'm feeling this feeling in my heart.
Are you feeling love in your heart for me?
Love in my heart.
it.
But I'm going to wrap it up with something important because you have a new business that is, going into what we're talking about now. People, relationships, and the investment world, which is you're 100% in. Tell us a little bit about Investors Blueprint, how this helps them with their relationships and also their business. And this is the thing now, and everybody's been asking me questions, so this is a great time for them to see what this is about.
So the Investors Blueprint, Brian and I and our friend Danny Fairclough started about 7 or 8 months ago. And for many years, of course, with Brian and me on television, people ask, why aren't we out there like a lot of the other gurus teaching people how to invest money?
Right.
And anybody who knows anything about me knows if I don't feel like I can help people, I'm not doing that. And I didn't like the business model that most people were using, which looks something like this. They come for an hour, they give you something free, then they invite you to weekends, $300 or $400, and then that weekend they pressure you to spend $30,000 to $50,000 for
Right.
this other stuff. Most people spend $30,000 or $50,000. That doesn't give them any money to invest, and so I'm like, I didn't like it. And if I don't like it, I don't do it. Fast forward a few months ago, Danny said, "Look, there's a way of doing this differently. First of all, it's in a digital world right now, and we can create, we can teach people and film and do videos of your projects, other investors' things, and be an access to people. I love that. I love to teach and mentor people.
Content-based, right?
Content-based. So then the second part I had to get comfortable was the cost of it, right? And so came up with a model, because my model is I want to help the masses, not the privileged few. And so came up with a program that currently for 1 year is $970, that's $3 a day. That gives people access to a closed Facebook group, videos, and so.
And also asking questions of you.
Right. So, and there's films of our projects, other people's projects. And so, as you take this to relationships, well, anytime you're in business, you need to build a team, right? In the investing world, you might have a realtor, you have a wholesaler, you need to find how to fund the projects, you need to have them closed. And so all these people involved in the transaction have the ability to work together. And so it's a great way. I've had some people that join the Investors Blueprint who really weren't as interested in investing, but provided a service part of that and wanted to let people know, hey, we're out there and doing this. So I say anytime you're in front of a significant number of people, it gives you the opportunity to grow relationships, let people know, especially in the group, when you provide knowledge, somebody has an issue, a question, and you're able to show some great information, people want to do business with you. That's the byproduct. So excited about it. People can reach out to me if they want more information.
Okay.
But
we'll have information for you as well.
Great. So the ability to help other people, and what I like is how many people already are out there working on their first projects, very action oriented. It's just, it makes my heart feel really good.
Well, I'm in the group, and I love the like overly teaching. It's like you're a part of a group of people, like a tribe. And actually, that's what you call it, a tribe. So you feel like you're with a group of people, you can talk about it. And again, it's about relationships. And sometimes you start off on Facebook, and then you meet those people in person. And it's funny how that happens. That's happened several times with me. But I think that, again, I do think that you are the master of relationships because you truly care. That is a hard thing to find. People get lost in the money and realize that if you build a relationship, the money will come, and if you do it right. We're going to end this with one tip. If you could give, out of your many Peterisms that I know, give us one Peterism. In the camera, let's tell them one of your, I know many. Which one would you say for relationships?
I would say that you must remember that in anything that happens in relationships or in life, there's a lesson to be learned. And what happens is sometimes it's so raw, you don't know what that lesson is, but understand that you have accountability. At some point, you are involved in any of these interactions, and you have to figure out what your piece is, and then determine what goes next. Did you do something you didn't like that you're going to acknowledge and maybe apologize for? Is there something you're going to do differently going forward in relationships? And so that you don't make the same mistakes. You know, I always say this in business. I don't mind making a mistake. I just don't want to make the same mistake over and over and over again. So, and can I add one more thing on there and stuff? Because, you know, one just doesn't do it right.
Please.
I think the other part, too, is I want to go back to my first Peterism, which is all you owe somebody is your truth.
Very powerful.
Where people get in trouble is if you're a person that's a people pleaser, that is not typically going to serve you well, because you give your personal power if all you're doing is based on other people's acceptance and approval. And people change. And so I say all the time, I won't let anybody rent space in my head, which means I do what's right for me. It's about integrity. And when you do that, then it's going to have a good influence on others. So, and then I'm going to add one more. Because you know, good things come in threes. So I get two, so I've got to have a third one. And this is about the relationships, okay? Remember, relationships take time. Just like if you're married, you didn't go on the first date and ask the person to marry. Hope not, because, well, some people maybe, but that's not great. If you understand that relationships take time and you have to nurture them and cultivate them, then they will be long-term relationships. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't try to force things too quickly because people will wonder about it. You lose integrity. So that is really important to remember.
That is a very powerful one. So when you come to Real Estate Connections 2 to 3 times and you're saying, I didn't get any business, that's because you have no relationships. You came in to try to get some cards and close some deals. I can tell you that's not going to work. What works is stay with everybody, get to know everybody, do other things, go have lunch, go have coffee, and like you said, it's not a sprint, and it's not going to happen overnight. But thank you all for joining us and having time with my friend Peter Pasternack, that everybody knows I adore. Thank you, Peter, for your time and your wisdom.
Thank you for having me, and if if there's anything I can do to help you, please feel free to reach out to me, because I'm passionate about connecting, networking, and introducing people. So I'm always available.